Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thunder Bay's historic Finnish labor temple has been sold. The 110-year-old landmark closed its doors in May after going into bankruptcy and found a new owner through a liquidation sale. The purchaser from Barrie, Ontario has local ties, and he's promising that the famous Hoito restaurant and some aspects of the building will stay the same. Michael Mohorovic has the details.
After months of uncertainty, it appears the Hoito restaurant has been saved.
The plan is to try and partner up with somebody in the city to open the Hoito restaurant, right? To give it a facelift inside, maybe revise the menu, improve the food, improve the service, and get the people coming back.
That's Brad McKinnon, the new owner of the Finnish labor temple and the Hoito restaurant. He's purchased the building for $375,000 and plans on renovating the 102-year-old restaurant and giving it a new feel while keeping its rich history intact. As for the Finnish hall and the rest of the floors above, major changes are coming.
Well, we don't plan to change anything on the exterior of the building, even though there have been many changes over the years. I'd like to maintain, improve on what's already there. The upstairs, we plan to put high-end apartments and hopefully get this property earning an income once again, but also respecting the history and the traditions that have sort of gone on in that building for the last 110 years.
A group known as the Finlandia Association had fundraised more than $30,000 in hopes of buying and saving the historic building and restaurant. President of the interim board, Paula Hoppanen, has mixed emotions about the sale. The conversion of the hall and the rest of the building into apartments isn't what they had hoped for, but she's relieved the Hoito will reopen its doors one day.
I'm not surprised about the residences. That's a really nice way to have a stable income, and so from the fiscal point of view, I can understand why they would choose that. It is overall a shame. We're losing another community space, yeah, that is sad.
Hoppanen says she's relieved that the new owner has ties to Thunder Bay. McKinnon went to Lakehead University between 2001 and 2004, and he says he's excited to help the building return to its glory days.
We're trying to coordinate and figure out how in our plans we can incorporate a potential walk-through museum connected with the restaurant. I'm really proud and excited about this acquisition. I think it's a great spot.
McKinnon hopes the restaurant can get up and running within 6 months and hopes to have the apartments ready in a year. Michael Mohorovic, TBT News.
Thunder Bay City Council held a special meeting last night to discuss the program and service review, but the bulk of the conversation surrounded one specific recommendation laid out in that report: the closure of the Centennial Botanical Conservatory. It's prompted more reaction than any other recommendation in the city's program and service review: the suggestion that Thunder Bay should close the Botanical Conservatory. And during Thursday's special session of City Council to discuss the PSR, the facility was passionately defended by residents who came forward.
I have seen the volunteer gardens at the conservatory assist with food security in our community. I have seen it benefit those facing mental health issues such as anxiety.
The citizens of Thunder Bay have clearly said again and again that they want the conservatory and they want it upgraded.
Based on the close to 7,500 signatures we have received, 4,500 through change.org and 2,800 through written petitions, the conservatory should be invested in with repairs and upgrades, not be closed.
To help the conservatory become more of a destination, we think a great addition would be a small cafe and a gift shop, and in warmer months perhaps include other outdoor vendors and entertainment.
A full report on the conservatory, which was deferred back in March pending the results of the PSR, will come back to Council in a couple of weeks. Councillors aren't making decisions about any of the 45 recommendations laid out in the program and service review just yet, and some of the changes that do come about as a result of the document will likely take several years. Administration will report back by December on which recommendations are even being considered, and Council will take it from there. And there's good news for local baseball fans.
There are some things that I was surprised by. One of them was, the sale of Port Arthur Stadium. I mentioned it before, I mentioned it again. He said, we're not looking at that. We're not.
Parents and guardians of elementary school students in the Lakehead and Catholic school boards who are considering switching from in-class to online learning or vice versa have 1 week to make their decision. The window opt-in or opt-out opened today. Boards must receive notification by next Friday if students are going to make the switch, and they'll be moved after Thanksgiving. Lakehead Board Superintendent A.J. Keene understands why parents may want that to happen immediately after a student at École Grand Morgan recently tested positive for COVID-19, but he says it takes time.
Moving to remote learning is not so simple as just assigning them to a teacher. We have a school, we have a principal, we have 45 teachers, we have class lists. It's a complicated process. We'll make the adjustments, restaff, reorganize school, and on October 13th we'll be able to move people to their new placement. We hope to have windows like that because it's just not so easy as someone saying, I'm done in school, I'm going to join a remote class. It's a very complex procedure to get things right and move staff around.
The next date to move elementary school students between in-class and online learning is February 1st. As for high school students, they will be able to switch in November for the start of the second quadmester. With the number of new COVID cases in Ontario topping the 400 mark once again today, the province has announced some new restrictions, and they target businesses that the government believes pose a high risk for exposure. Colin DeMello has the details.
The sustained rise in Ontario's COVID-19 numbers resulted in the first economic restrictions since the reopening.
We are certainly seeing a worrisome increase in cases, having cases now that are above some of the levels that we've seen since late May, early June.
Drinking hours and socializing at bars, restaurants, and nightclubs will now face new limits province-wide. The changes come into effect at midnight tonight. Last call for alcohol will be at 11 p.m. Businesses will be closed for in-person dining at midnight, and staff will not be able to drink on premises between midnight and 9 a.m.
I don't think it's the end of the world. People stop drinking at 11 and close it down at 12 o'clock. It's precautionary measures.
The government is also targeting strip clubs, which have been a source of infection, ordering them to be closed for business as of Saturday.
I question, frankly, whether it is sufficient, certainly with respect to bars and serving of alcohol, cutting off the time a little bit earlier. Who's to say that people simply won't compensate for that by getting in their last round a little bit earlier?
The government's pandemic response also took a new turn today as pharmacies began offering tests to asymptomatic individuals who have had exposure to COVID-19. The test may be more convenient, but not necessarily fast.
The test itself goes to a provincial lab. It usually takes about 3 or 4 days to get the test back.
The province's processing backlog hit a whopping 65,000 tests today, leaving thousands of people isolated and in limbo. And today, the province also announced a strategy to address another backlog, surgeries. The province put off an estimated 150,000 surgeries during the pandemic as it made room for more hospital capacity. The government will spend $243 million just to catch up.
This investment will support additional volumes of priority surgeries like cancer, cardiac, cataract, and orthopedic procedures.
Clinical hours for MRIs and CT scans will be expanded, and the province will centralize the surgery wait list, hoping doctors can tackle it as efficiently as possible.
A pair of Ontario NDP members from this region are touting a plan that they say would help a number of sectors which aren't being supported by the provincial or federal governments. The plan, titled Save Main Street, focuses on things like utility payment freezes for small and medium-sized businesses and a fund for those businesses to expand their digital footprint in order to sell products online. The plan was originally introduced by the New Democrats in April, but has changed as more shortcomings became evident to the public and the politicians.
Some of them were losing their homes, some of them were losing their livelihoods, a way of life, and when the government does not respond to the calls of these businesses.
We know that people are still suffering and are coming to us and saying, I need help. And so this plan was innovative because we're wiser now. We know a bit more. And it may change again when we think of something else that business points out, right?
Other parts of the plan include retraining women and racialized Ontarians, as well as investing in more child care centres. The Thunder Bay Food Bank reopened its doors today for the first time in 6 months. Volunteers were eager to be back and are preparing for a busy holiday season in the midst of the pandemic. Kayla Karim has the story.
Over 150 hampers were given out on day one of the reopening of the Thunder Bay Food Bank. Residents were lined up as early as 9 o'clock Friday morning to receive their hamper, which provides a week's worth of food. Inside the hamper, residents will find canned goods and pasta, as well as fresh produce and milk. Reno Pitkanen is the chair of the food bank and says the community was excited to see their doors reopen.
We are so pleased we're back because this is something that they're familiar with. They know how to get here. They know the transits and everything else, and it's just better for everybody involved. It's wonderful.
Quite frankly, this is a big missing piece for us here in Thunder Bay. This is a very large food bank, and a lot of this neighborhood is serviced, and they actually service a lot of the Thunder Bay as well for those places that traditionally come here to this food bank.
Hampers are currently picked up outside of the food bank, with pickups shifting indoors in the winter. A second door will be added in the next month to help with the flow of traffic. With the giving season quickly approaching and CERB coming to an end this month, the food banks are preparing for a busy quarter. Although there is funding in place for the food banks for the upcoming holiday season, Chrome noted the increase in traffic began at the beginning of the school year.
Now, as we are getting closer to Thanksgiving, there's a huge bump up. So all the food banks, where they had at the beginning of the reopening process, there was maybe 30, now they're up to 100. So it's a huge jump up for some of the smaller food banks.
We have funding to provide food from the shelves if we need to purchase it. If the RFDA can't provide it, we do have money put aside to stock our shelves. So yes, I do think we will be okay for a while, but we have to wait and see how heavy the pandemic hits.
Members of the community can visit the Thunder Bay Food Bank every other Friday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., with the next Friday being Friday, October 9th, just before Thanksgiving. Kayla Karim, TBT News.
Up until now, First Nations communities have done a good job limiting the spread of COVID-19 with checkpoints and travel bans to their communities. But leaders with Matawa First Nations are worried that winter will pose a greater challenge once the ice roads open for the season. Winter roads provide additional transportation options into Matawa's remote communities. Its executive director says checkpoints will likely be put in place to prevent people from entering communities unnecessarily, but David Paul Ashney-Penescom fears an influx of vehicles like snowmobiles traveling between First Nations will cause problems if residents don't follow protocols.
All of our communities have to pretty well have some kind of an agreement in place that they will respect each other's protocols that are established. Definitely, there will be lockdowns for sure. I can see that coming.
The ice roads likely won't be ready for use until January, meaning there's still some time to ensure that plans are crafted to be as safe as possible. Well, some rain in the forecast this evening has postponed a fundraising event for Dennis Franklin Cromartie High School. A drive-in virtual concert featuring July Talk was scheduled at the former Sears parking lot at Intercity Shopping Centre. It was one of 3 special screenings planned for this week by Interstellar Outdoor Cinema. Jonathan Wilson has the story.
On Wednesday night, this parking lot was filled with vehicles for the first time since Sears closed its doors in 2018. Wilderness Supply presented their Reel Paddling Film Festival, and by all accounts, it was a big success. Interstellar Outdoor Cinema's Elena Linklater says their portable screen helped keep this annual event going during the pandemic, but setting up at this location wasn't easy.
They've been showing the film festival for the last 7 years, and they thought this year would be the first year it wasn't able to happen, so all the stars aligned and we're able to hook up with them and bring it to the big screen with Interstellar Outdoor Cinema.
The rain held off for Wednesday's event, but that won't be the case for tonight's planned screening of a live concert by July Talk. The event has been postponed until Saturday, October the 3rd, and instead of happening in the Sears parking lot, it will be held at Interstellar's usual location on Cloud Lake Road off Highway 61. The concert screening is a fundraiser for Dennis Franklin Cromartie High School's online learning. Officials with the school's Education Council say July Talk has been a longtime supporter of DFC.
We're super excited to have July Talk back here in Thunder Bay in some capacity. They're so pivotal to Wake the Giant. We couldn't have done it without them, and we're happy that we're able to collaborate with them again on a pretty cool and innovative event.
The forecast looks better for this Saturday night when the Sleeping Giant Folk Music Society is presenting the acclaimed Gordon Lightfoot documentary called If You Can Read My Mind.
Oh, this is amazing. We originally were sponsoring it for the North of Superior Film Association's film festival in the spring, and of course it got canceled because of COVID-19. So we were really happy that we could bring it here to Interstellar Intercity.
Officials are optimistic that show can go ahead in the Sears parking lot this Saturday, but if the rain does come again, it will be postponed to Friday, October 9th at the Cloud 61 location. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Oh, we heard it just a few minutes ago. There's rain on its way. That's the bad news. The good news is it's not that much rain, Fiona.
Yeah, we're expecting a few showers, but don't expect a massive storm this evening. But unfortunately, it is enough to kind of put a damper on the plans for folks who are going to be going to that event. Today, a lot of cloud cover, but definitely above normal for this time of year, high of 17. Normally we get 14, 15 by this time of month. So all in all, temperature-wise, not doing too badly. The unfortunate thing was a lot of gray skies, and winds very light from the east-northeast, 7 to 13 kilometers per hour. To the west, there is a little bit of sunshine at this hour. They had some light rain off and on earlier this afternoon in Fort Frances, but it has cleared out. It is heading our way, so we know it's fairly light. But all in all, skies looking pretty good this evening, as is the case in Red Lake, and they're enjoying a glorious 21 at this hour. A little bit cooler as you head further east. They're at 18 in Sioux Lookout, 15 in Armstrong, 16 in Greenstone, with a whole lot of cloud, 14 in Marathon, and get this, currently 23 in Sault Ste. Marie. They've had sunshine earlier today, but mostly cloudy at this hour. Now, here in the city of Thunder Bay, as you heard, we are looking at some showers, but temperature-wise, staying unusually mild. Low of 10, normal at this time of year is a low of about 3. So if you like the warmer temperatures, we're definitely getting those as those showers move through. And then, unfortunately, although there is sunshine to the west, we're getting the second band of showers passing through starting tomorrow. And that, unfortunately, could hamper some plans if you are expecting to be outside tomorrow afternoon. I'll have more details on how long that will last later on in the news hour.